pretty heavy materials, but I don't think I've heard a statement about Jacobs tonight. So that's kind of what it looks like to me, just listening to the conversations.
Well, I'm kind of torn because I don't want to make a motion to table or postpone to the next meeting. But if somebody makes a motion to approve, then then I will make my motion to table and postpone, which takes priority. So it's really up to the board. To make a motion to table could be read publicly if somebody watches the minutes or something that we had a problem with the contract. And I don't think, to Mr. Evans's point, that's what we're saying. But I'll leave it up to Ms. Gotti, and if somebody makes a motion, then I will make my motion to table and see what happens at that point. But if nobody does make a motion, then we can move on, I think.
So if there's no other discussion, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the contract.
Go ahead.
There's a motion to approve the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Scanlon to approve the contract and a second by Mrs. Underwood. Any more discussion?
I move to table this item to a further meeting, to the December 1st meeting. That's my formal motion. So you'll need a second and then vote on that.
Yep.
Table.
So
Second.
is there a second to?
Second to table them.
So a second from, a motion by Mr. Wayne and a second from Mrs. Fay to table the motion. Right, to the December 1st meeting, And so is there any discussion on that? Mr. Scanlon?
I think that'll give people plenty of time to get, well, I guess you got Thanksgiving in there, but to get questions answered and for the public to digest it, I think it's a smart move to, everybody, it's $16 million and make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. And I think what some people want on this board is maybe the big picture of what exactly all these different moving parts, how do they all come together, and who's kind of focusing in on that is what I'm hearing. Is that the case?
If there's no further discussion, roll call.
Underwood.
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Fay.
Aye.
Godding.
Aye.
America.
Aye.
Scanlon.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Ada.
Motion carries. Moving to I2E. I'm turning it back over to Mr. Wayne.
1401, Community Partnership Proposal and Evaluation Policy. Ms. Neely-Sprosh.
Before you this evening, you have the Community Partnership Proposal and Evaluation Policy that was before you previously at the last board meeting last week. We have made the changes that were suggested. I did have a couple of questions. One question was, if a statute or something prohibits us from having a community partnership, what would happen? And I think it depends on the community partnership. OPS is currently engaged in many community partnerships, and so I think that the policy would be sufficient for many of those situations. Obviously, if a statute or a regulation would need to be changed in order to have a community partnership, that would need to be discussed and brought up, and it's also requested as part of that formal process. But, you know, as you look into something and if there needs to be some sort of regulation or change, then that certainly could be discussed at that time, whether or not that would be appropriate. But this policy is, I would say, much broader. It applies to many community partnerships, and there could be many situations in which you might, you know, it does not require a statutory or regulatory change. And then everything else is in line with the questions from last time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Mrs. Fay?
Well, I just want to thank Mrs. Neelis Brash and staff for putting this together, because I asked for it for quite a while, and I think it will really help as different community partners come to suggest programs for the district, whether it's a part of the bond or a part of the strategic plan, or however it fits in to what we're doing. I just think this will be really helpful. I would still like to see, not as a part of the policy, so it doesn't need to be necessarily voted on, and certainly not here, some sort of rubric like Mrs. Merica suggested last time that will help the board and the public know how a particular partnership was rejected or accepted to go on. So what is it that we're looking at to say this LOI made it through or this one didn't? Just so that we know that at least a portion of that decision was done objectively, and it will just provide another opportunity for transparency in that decision making.
Any other comments, questions, suggestions? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the first reading of the policy regarding community partnership and evaluation policy.
I move to approve the policy 1401, community partnership proposal and evaluation.
Motion on the floor by Mrs. Godding. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mrs. Godding, second by Ms. Williams. Any discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Wayne.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Fay.
Aye.
Godding.
Aye.
America.
Aye.
Scanlon.
Aye.
Snow. Aye. Underwood.
Aye.
8 aye.
Motion carries. This is a policy. We can wait till the next meeting, or at this time, I'll entertain a motion to waive the second reading of the policy that is before the board, 1401. If I hear no motion, we will put this on the agenda at the second meeting, and first meeting in December, sorry. Hearing none, we will move on to, we have two receipt of reports. I just want to point out priority-based budgeting. There's a couple documents on there in the fall membership. Please look at them. I also want to just point out to the board, we probably need to have a discussion around priority-based budgeting. We talked about it, but we just never adopted a policy. I think we've all, every time Dr. Poole has presented it, said, good idea, let's do it, but we just never codified it. So just a reminder to the board.
I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, and legal counsel negotiations, pending litigation, real estate, legal advice, personnel.
There's a motion on the floor by Mrs. Godding. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mrs. Godding, second by Mrs. Underwood. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Williams.
Aye.
Fay.
Aye.
Godding.
Aye.
America.
Aye.
Scanlon.
Aye.
Snow. Underwood.
Aye.
Wayne.
Aye.
8 aye.
Motion carries. Let me remind the board, the purpose of the closed session is for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary of the board, and legal counsel's negotiation, pending litigation, real estate, legal advice, and personnel. Let the record reflect, the board went into closed session at 9:42 p.m.